an emergency hearing convened in the dead of night, ostensibly about NASA's critical mission to protect Earth. But the true trigger for this urgent session was never meant to reach the ears of Capitol Hill. Distant raw data from 3I Atlas, an interstellar object, had revealed an alarming truth. A sudden, inexplicable surge of heat. Then, magnetic interference. And finally, what appeared to be a controlled energy pulse. NASA's internal communication channels instantly froze. Washington was alerted with unprecedented speed. Within mere hours, Congress itself convened an emergency briefing. Behind the secure doors, a panel of scientists presented findings they themselves barely comprehended. This wasn't a comet merely cooling down in the vast cosmic dark. It was actively powering up. What was unveiled to lawmakers that night was so profoundly unsettling, it made even the most seasoned physicists blanch. The congressional emergency session began under a palpable veil of unease. It was nearing midnight. Members from both chambers filed into the secure auditorium deep beneath the Capitol. Aids and personal devices were strictly forbidden, left outside. The urgent agenda item was not foreign policy, nor defense strategy. It was a single, enigmatic interstellar object, millions of kilometers distant. 3I Atlas. At the front of that hushed, tense room, a NASA official, flanked by representatives from the Pentagon and the Office of Space Intelligence, began to speak. The silence was deafening. The implications terrifying. The truth about to unfold. Across the cold, silent canvas of deep space, a new kind of signal began to emerge. Not a whisper, but a rhythmic pulse. It wasn't just one instrument that detected it. It was a chorus of distant eyes, all seeing the same impossible truth. The James Webb Space Telescope, a marvel of human ingenuity, hung 1,000,000 miles from Earth. Its golden mirror, a silent sentinel, gathering the universe's oldest light. Simultaneously, the colossal dishes of the Deep Space Network, spread across 3 continents, listened intently, their thermal relays mapping the faint heat signatures of distant objects. And orbiting Mars, the specialized infrared spectrometer aboard Tianwen-1, a beacon of interplanetary exploration, scanned the void with its precise gaze. Each instrument, a testament to our reach into the cosmos, was designed for its unique task, optimized for its specific wavelength. Yet, from these vastly different vantage points, across distances so immense they defy easy comprehension, an unsettling synchronicity began to unfold. A unified, undeniable signal echoed back to Earth. This wasn't random noise. It wasn't a fleeting anomaly. It was a series of precise, recurring heat pulses, a steady, almost deliberate rhythm. Every 9 hours and 4 minutes, with astonishing exactitude, the energy flared. Then it receded. Then it flared again. This wasn't the chaotic ebb and flow of natural cosmic events. This was a clockwork precision, a heartbeat in the void, broadcast simultaneously, perfectly synchronized, across millions of miles of empty space. The sheer impossible regularity of it sent a shiver through every analyst. But the rhythm was only the beginning. The true revelation lay in the very nature of these emissions. Most cosmic phenomena, the vast clouds of gas and dust, the fiery birthplaces of stars, they paint a broad, diffuse spectrum of energy. Their thermal signatures are wide, sprawling, chaotic. They are the signature of nature's raw, untamed power. 3I Atlas, however, defied every known astrophysical law. Its spectrum was narrow, incredibly precise. On the spectral graphs, it didn't form a gentle curve, a gradual slope. Instead, it registered as a sharp, almost unnerving vertical spike. A pinpoint of pure energy, precisely at 4.26 microns. This wasn't just a number, it was a revelation. For this specific wavelength, 4.26 microns holds a profound and unsettling significance. It is the exact spectral signature of ionized carbon dioxide plasma. On Earth, this highly specific band of energy, this superheated, electrically charged gas, is not found in any natural environment. Its existence is confined to the most extreme, controlled conditions. We see it only within the heart of experimental fusion chambers, where humanity strives to harness the power of the stars. We detect it within the cutting-edge propulsion systems, pushing the boundaries of what's possible for interstellar travel. Its presence in deep space, emanating from a lone object, was beyond explanation, and the signal's complexity deepened. As analysts meticulously reviewed the raw data, they uncovered intricate interference patterns, subtle oscillations woven into the very fabric of the emission. These weren't random fluctuations, the noise of the universe. These were deliberate patterns, clear and undeniable. They screamed of modulation. This energy was not simply radiating, it was being shaped, it was being contained, and then it was being released in discrete, controlled intervals, like a carefully orchestrated breath. The implications were staggering. This wasn't a natural process. This was a system with intent. The cumulative heat data, meticulously gathered and cross-referenced, painted an even clearer, more unsettling picture. 3I Atlas was not merely warming from some passive interaction with distant starlight. It was actively charging. The rise and fall of its emissions, the precise rhythm of its heat output, didn't match an object expelling energy. It mimicked, with chilling accuracy, a system storing energy, a vast, intricate mechanism, drawing power, accumulating it, building towards something. In astrophysical terms, the resemblance was uncanny. Every curve on every chart, every data point, pointed to the unmistakable activation of an internal engine, a complex mechanism, dormant for untold eons, now stirring, preparing for function. It was a silent, cosmic awakening. No one dared to utter the words alive or artificial in official scientific reports. The language of science demands absolute proof, empirical observation, but the silent, rhythmic pulse emanating from 3I Atlas, the deliberate shaping of its energy, the undeniable intent behind its awakening, spoke volumes to those who understood the data. Something was happening out there, and for the first time, humanity understood that the universe was holding its breath, waiting to see what would come next. For centuries, humanity has gazed at the stars, meticulously building a vast framework of understanding, a cosmic dictionary for the universe. Within this established framework, the arrival of an interstellar object, a voyager from another star system, carried with it a distinct set of scientific expectations. Scientists widely believed such a visitor would be a pristine, frozen wanderer, a primordial relic of distant stellar nurseries, perfectly preserved in the deep, absolute cold of space. They anticipated a composition primarily of volatile ice, perhaps solid carbon dioxide, and fine silicate dust, essentially a cosmic snowball, mirroring the countless comets that tirelessly orbit our own sun. This was the prevailing scientific consensus, a foundational assumption for understanding these rare celestial nomads. Most astronomers, therefore, initially presumed 3I Atlas would conform precisely to this well-established profile. A simple, albeit extraordinary, icy visitor from beyond our solar neighborhood. But the universe, in its infinite complexity and boundless mystery, had prepared a profound and utterly unexpected revelation. The latest spectrographic data began to arrive, not as a gentle stream of information, but as an overwhelming torrent, a deluge of new facts. It swiftly painted a dramatically different picture. A stark, undeniable deviation from every tenet conventional astrophysics had taught us about the nature of interstellar bodies. These revelations weren't isolated or anecdotal. They emerged from a powerful convergence of humanity's most advanced observational instruments, each independently and unequivocally corroborating the extraordinary findings. Tanwen, one's near-infrared detector, a triumph of orbital engineering, transmitted its initial, deeply puzzling readings. Then, NASA's Earth ground station, with its unparalleled capabilities for distant observation, unequivocally corroborated those anomalous signals. Finally, the Webb Space Telescope, specifically designed to peer into the universe with unprecedented clarity and sensitivity, delivered its own mid-infrared array data, effectively sealing the scientific consensus around these bizarre observations. Across these disparate, highly sophisticated platforms, a consistent, deeply anomalous, elemental fingerprint began to emerge from the expansive, ethereal coma surrounding 3I Atlas. What was found was not the expected icy vapor, the familiar signature of a comet. Instead, embedded vibrantly within the comet's glowing shroud, was ionized nickel vapor. This was not a mere trace element. It was a substantial, intensely radiating presence, registering temperatures approaching an astonishing 3,000 degrees Celsius. To fully grasp the significance, consider that this heat is more than sufficient to melt and vaporize nearly any known metal on Earth, turning solid matter into incandescent gas. Alongside this dominant nickel signature, faint but utterly unmistakable traces of cobalt and magnesium were also precisely identified. These were heavy metals, elements typically forged in the hearts of dying stars or locked deep within the dense cores of rocky planets. Their presence, in a gaseous, ionized state, and critically, at such an immense distance from the Sun, immediately triggered a cascade of alarm, intense scientific debate, and profound curiosity across the global scientific community. This was the profound deviation. Under normal, natural astrophysical conditions, these specific metals simply do not sublimate or transform into gas at such immense distances from any stellar heat source. They remain stubbornly locked away, deep within the solid matrices of a comet's core, utterly inaccessible to the cold vacuum of space. For them to transform into vapor, they demand immense, sustained energy input. Specifically, they require the kind of intense, direct solar heat that only occurs when an object plunges dangerously close to the Sun itself, experiencing extreme thermal stress. Yet, 3I Atlas steadfastly maintained its course in the frigid outer reaches of our solar system, far beyond the orbit of Mars. This is a region of profound cold, where ambient temperatures plummet to hundreds of degrees below zero, utterly inhospitable to metal vaporization. The observed conditions simply did not align with any known natural process. The appearance of these specific spectral lines, radiating with such ferocious heat, presented scientists with an immediate, undeniable paradox, forcing a radical re-evaluation of its very nature, challenging the core of planetary science. The scientific community was now confronted with two stark, unsettling possibilities, each more challenging to conventional understanding than the last. Either an unknown chemical process, one entirely new to our understanding of physics and chemistry, was miraculously at work, vaporizing metal with an impossible, unprecedented efficiency, a process that defied established thermodynamic laws, rewriting textbooks in real time, or, and this was the more unsettling and revolutionary hypothesis, the heating was unequivocally internal. It was originating from within the object itself, An energy source, self-contained, powerful and utterly mysterious, was driving these extreme temperatures. The very definition of 3I Atlas was being rewritten in real time by every new data point. The profound implications of either scenario rippled through every astronomical institution, every physics lab, every corner of human inquiry, demanding answers to questions never before conceived. Further, meticulous scrutiny of the nickel emission lines revealed even more astonishing and deeply perplexing details. They were notably narrow, sharply defined. This characteristic was absolutely critical to the unfolding mystery, providing a key piece of the puzzle. Natural outgassing from a typical comet, caused by the subtle effects of solar radiation, invariably produces broad, diffuse patterns. Gases expand chaotically, spreading out into a wide, indistinct spectral signature, a hazy, uncontrolled blur. But 3I Atlas's emissions were distinctly different. They were precise. They lacked that characteristic broad diffusion. This precision strongly implied controlled conditions. It suggested, with increasing certainty and mounting evidence, that the metallic material was being heated and expelled through a highly regulated process, not through the explosive, uncontrolled and diffuse sublimation of a natural comet, but with deliberate intent. It was as if these metallic vapors were being channeled, directed, and managed with an engineered purpose. When the energy intensity of these emissions was meticulously modeled by leading teams of physicists and aerospace engineers, the results were nothing short of unequivocal. The calculated numbers aligned with uncanny accuracy. They precisely matched known parameters for highly advanced plasma propulsion exhausts. Specifically, they mirrored the distinct signatures of high-temperature nickel-based alloys employed in cutting-edge theoretical propulsion systems designed for interstellar travel. This was far beyond an accidental alignment. This was a signature, a technological fingerprint, starkly embedded within the very light emanating from 3I Atlas, undeniable and profound. The pattern repeated, with unwavering consistency across every observation cycle, establishing a clear, deliberate rhythm in its behavior. Each thermal energy pulse detected radiating from 3I Atlas was invariably accompanied by a brief, yet distinct and measurable increase in metallic gas concentration. Then, as the radiant glow of the pulse predictably dimmed, the metallic gas concentration would correspondingly decrease, almost as if on cue. This was not random. This was a coordinated dance of energy and matter, a precise, almost choreographed interplay between temperature, emission, and spectral purity. It pointed, with undeniable clarity and compelling evidence, to a single, unified, and intelligently designed mechanism, not a chaotic, unpredictable natural phenomenon, but a sophisticated system, a system explicitly designed to manage its own energy output, not through the haphazard, random processes of nature, but in deliberate, measurable, and controlled phases. The metallic whisper emanating from 3I Atlas was no longer faint. It was growing louder with every new data point, every confirmed observation. It spoke not of random cosmic happenstance, but of something far more profound. It spoke of intelligent design, of something artificial, something engineered. This was not merely a scientific discovery. It was a profound challenge to everything humanity thought it knew about the universe, about interstellar objects, and perhaps about the very nature of life beyond Earth itself. The vast, silent expanse of space was now broken by a metallic hum, a clear, resonant signal that the cosmos held secrets far stranger than fiction, secrets that demanded our full attention. The next phase of the report irrevocably shifted the entire briefing's tone. What began as an exercise in scientific uncertainty, a careful weighing of tentative hypotheses, now plunged into a realm of quiet, yet profound, alarm. This was no longer just about an anomalous comet. This was something else entirely. Across vast stretches of deep space, an intricate network of radio telescopes and incredibly sensitive magnetometers had begun to register something utterly unprecedented, something that defied all known celestial mechanics, all conventional understanding of cometary behavior. They detected faint, yes, but undeniably repeating distortions within the local magnetic fields that enveloped 3I Atlas. These were not random bursts of energy, not the expected chaotic noise of the cosmos. This was not mere background interference, easily dismissed. These disturbances were precise. They occurred with absolute, almost mechanical regularity, mirroring the exact moments when 3I Atlas's mysterious thermal spikes were observed. The interference meticulously followed the same precise 9-hour cycle that had been so carefully documented in the thermal readings. It was an electromagnetic signature, in perfect, undeniable temporal harmony with the object's internal heat pulses. A rhythm of energy, synchronized with a rhythm of heat, playing out with chilling precision across the vastness of space. Initially, analysts, conditioned by decades of observing natural phenomena, clinging to the familiar, to the comfort of known physics, hypothesized these fluctuations stemmed from the solar wind. It was the most logical, the most natural assumption for any celestial body interacting with its stellar environment. This was the universe they knew, the universe they had meticulously mapped and understood. However, a meticulous, painstaking comparison with comprehensive solar radiation data quickly and unequivocally disproved this theory. It became glaringly, undeniably clear that this pattern was entirely decoupled from the sun's activity. The disturbances persisted, unwavering, with the same intensity and the same precise rhythm. Even during periods of profound solar quiet, the sun's influence, the very source of so many cosmic phenomena, was simply not present in this equation. This magnetic activity was internal, intrinsic, and utterly independent. It came from within 3I Atlas itself, a self-generated, self-sustained phenomenon. The field oscillations themselves were extraordinary. They appeared distinctly directional, radiating outward from 3I Atlas in concentric, expanding waves. One could almost visualize them, like perfect ripples spreading across a vast, unseen magnetic pond, emanating with flawless symmetry from a hidden, powerful stone at its center. Mapping this intricate, subtle data, compiling countless observations from multiple vantage points and deep space arrays, revealed an astonishingly organized structure. It wasn't just a localized anomaly, a fleeting disturbance that would soon dissipate into the void. It was a faint, yet distinct, envelope. This magnetic shell stretched for thousands of kilometers, extending far beyond the hazy, visible coma that shrouded the object's core. It was an invisible, yet undeniable, boundary. A sphere of influence, meticulously defined. This was neither a static field, frozen inertly in space, offering no resistance, nor a chaotic magnetic storm, raging unpredictably, without purpose or control. Instead, it rotated. It rotated with an almost impossible precision, in perfect synchronization with the object's own enigmatic spin. It formed what could only be described as a self-contained magnetic shell, a bubble of controlled energy, meticulously maintained and actively managed. For a natural comet, an interstellar ice body of 3I Atlas's modest size and known composition, to spontaneously generate such a stable, powerful and organized magnetic envelope would require a molten metallic core. A core that generates a planetary dynamo, much like Earth's own, creating a global magnetic field. Such a concept was utterly impossible for an object of its known composition and interstellar trajectory. Ice bodies do not possess molten metallic cores. The fundamental laws of physics, as currently understood, simply did not allow for it. Yet, the sheer strength and the profound symmetry of this field were undeniable. They spoke not of random cosmic chance, not of a fluke of nature, but of deliberate design. Its amplitude peaked with precise, rhythmic regularity. Each time the mysterious red glow intensified. This implied a direct, an intrinsic, and an intelligent coupling between thermal energy and magnetism. It was the unmistakable hallmark of an active electromagnetic system, a system that was not merely present, but actively operating, actively controlled, and actively generating these forces. This was not geology. This was technology. This was something built. The implications for the scientific community, and indeed for humanity's understanding of the universe, were staggering. Some physicists, trying desperately to reconcile this with known physics, grasping for any natural explanation, proposed the field functioned as a sophisticated, engineered protective barrier, a shield designed with intent to deflect charged solar particles, to guard against the relentless, erosive barrage of micrometeoroids in the interstellar medium, a defense mechanism, perhaps, against the harsh realities of deep space. Others suspected a far deeper, a far more complex purpose. Perhaps it was related to advanced energy collection, efficiently harvesting the diffuse energies of space for some unknown need. Or perhaps it was for containment, holding something immense, something powerful, something volatile, within its magnetic grasp, preventing it from escaping or from being detected. In advanced computer simulations, the behavior of this field was chillingly familiar. It acted remarkably like a magnetic confinement bubble, a concept strikingly similar in principle to the sophisticated plasma containment systems used in fusion experiments right here on Earth. The veil was not natural. It was engineered. It was a deliberate construct, moving silently through our solar system, orbiting our sun. The fifth report, a stark collection of unyielding numbers and deeply unsettling observations, landed like a cold, heavy stone upon the Congressional Committee. It did more than just present raw, objective data. It fundamentally transformed the very atmosphere of the room. That initial astonishment, the widespread wonder that had greeted earlier revelations about 3I Atlas, now gave way to a palpable, creeping dread. This was not merely an anomaly, a curious deviation from the norm. It was a profound, undeniable violation of known physics, a challenge to the very fabric of celestial mechanics. Analysts, working in relentless shifts across continents and time zones, their faces etched with a mix of exhaustion and disbelief, had meticulously leveraged an unprecedented global network of instruments. Gravitational telemetry, precise and unforgiving in its conclusions, poured in continuously. A torrent of data from the far reaches of space. Data streamed from NASA's Deep Space Network, its giant dishes listening across the void. It came from the intricate, star-mapping ESA's Gaia system, charting the positions of billions of stars, and it flowed from China's formidable Tianwen-1 tracking radar, probing the depths of the solar system with unmatched resolution. Every single data point, each minute fluctuation in 3I Atlas's trajectory, was processed, cross-referenced, and verified, with painstaking, almost obsessive rigor. All of it converged on a singular, impossible conclusion. 3I Atlas was no longer maintaining a constant mass. Instead, defying every expectation, every scientific model, every textbook ever written, 3I Atlas was demonstrably gaining it. This was not a subtle change. This was a dramatic, accelerating accumulation. Instead of the expected, natural process of sublimation, that slow, inevitable shedding of material as a comet heats up and approaches the sun, leaving a faint, ephemeral tail of its own demise, 3I Atlas was doing the precise opposite. This revelation alone, stark and unambiguous, shattered decades of established astrophysical understanding. It flew directly in the face of everything known about these icy wanderers of the cosmos, challenging the very principles that govern their existence and evolution. At its initial discovery, the object's mass had been conservatively estimated at approximately 10 billion tons. A staggering figure, certainly, speaking to the immense scale of this interstellar visitor, but still within the theoretical bounds for a large primordial comet, albeit an unusual one. Yet, over a mere 3-month period, a geological blink in cosmic time, a fleeting moment in the vastness of space, updated measurements placed that figure closer to an astonishing 33 billion tons. This was not a theoretical projection, not an educated guess, nor a statistical margin of error that could be dismissed. These were irrefutable figures, derived from rigorous orbital drift analyses, calculations so precise they could track minute shifts in gravitational fields across vast distances, revealing the most subtle changes in an object's influence on its surroundings. These analyses unequivocally showed that 3I Atlas's gravitational pull on nearby cosmic dust had not merely held steady, it had measurably strengthened, pulling on particles with an undeniable, growing force that defied all conventional models of cometary evolution and gravitational interaction. For any other comet, the relentless journey toward the sun means a slow, relentless erosion. As these primordial ice balls hurtle through the inner solar system, their volatile surfaces vent gas and dust, producing those iconic, ethereal tails that, while beautiful to behold, slowly diminish their total weight. They are, in essence, consuming themselves, leaving a fading trail of their own dissolution across the void, a testament to the sun's immutable power. But this object, this enigmatic 3I Atlas, defied entropy itself. It was not diminishing, it was expanding. It was not eroding, it was growing. The very fundamental laws of celestial mechanics, the predictable ballet of gravity and mass, seemed to bend and warp around its unprecedented presence, as if a new, unknown rule had been introduced to the cosmic game. The visual and spectral evidence was equally stark, equally unsettling, painting a vivid picture of active consumption. Dust clouds surrounding 3I Atlas did not disperse, did not drift away into the vast, indifferent vacuum of space, as they absolutely should under normal solar radiation pressure and solar wind. Instead, they curved inward, drawn by an unseen powerful force, spiraling inexorably towards the nucleus. Particles, traveling at immense speeds within the solar wind, did not simply bypass the comet, deflected by its coma. They slowed down dramatically as they approached 3I Atlas's nucleus, caught as if in an invisible current, pulled by a weak but highly organized magnetic drag. This was not a passive interaction. This was a focused, almost deliberate process of accretion, a systematic gathering of raw material from its environment, a calculated ingestion. Spectral readings further confirmed the nature of these incoming particles. They contained silicates, iron, and carbon compounds, the raw, fundamental building blocks of cosmic matter, the very ingredients that form planets, moons, and even life itself. It was consuming the universe's most basic elements, absorbing them into its growing form, like a cosmic predator stalking its prey in the dark. When scientists meticulously modeled this unprecedented phenomenon in advanced computer simulations, the material's spiral trajectory around 3I Atlas precisely matched patterns expected of electromagnetic capture fields. The imagery generated by these simulations was unsettling, almost alien in its implications, akin to the plasma funnels observed in experimental fusion reactors, where matter is contained, compressed, and manipulated with immense precision and power, often to generate energy or build new structures from raw elements. 3I Atlas appeared to be actively harvesting its environment, not merely interacting with it by chance. It was drawing in interplanetary debris, not simply collecting it, but fundamentally converting it. Was it transforming this raw cosmic material into vast amounts of energy to sustain its journey, to power its mysterious light, to propel itself through the void, or perhaps into structural components, rebuilding and augmenting itself, growing in complexity as it grew in mass, evolving before their astonished eyes? The implications were profound, unsettling, reaching far beyond any known astrophysics, suggesting a form of active, deliberate cosmic engineering, utterly beyond human comprehension. This inexplicable phenomenon, this consuming hunger, this relentless accretion of mass, coincided precisely with its mysterious red phase activation cycle. Each surge of light, each enigmatic crimson flare that had puzzled astronomers for weeks, corresponded directly with an incremental, undeniable rise in its total mass. It was a powerful, undeniable correlation, a direct intake-conversion relationship unfolding before their very eyes, a cyclical process of consumption and growth, unlike anything ever witnessed. Rather than deteriorating, rather than succumbing to the harsh realities of solar proximity and the vacuum of space, this interstellar visitor was metabolizing. It was consuming the very dust and debris around it, converting that mass into power, into growth, into something utterly unknown and deeply unsettling. A silent, insatiable engine, growing larger, stronger, and more mysterious with every passing moment in the vast, indifferent void, hinting at a purpose, a design far beyond anything humanity could comprehend. The universe had just revealed a new, terrifying kind of hunger, an active, growing entity in the darkness. The air in the briefing chamber was not merely tense, it was electric, thick with a palpable, almost suffocating anticipation. This was the sixth report, and it landed like a seismic event, its reverberations igniting a profound unease that surpassed any earlier revelation. A chilling sense of awe, tinged with an undeniable fear, settled over the assembled scientists, military liaisons, and congressional analysts. For weeks, the entire world had watched, holding its collective breath, as 3I Atlas, this enigmatic silent visitor from interstellar space, hurtled through the silent, indifferent void. Now, the moment of truth, a defining cosmic encounter, was at hand. The object was drifting, inexorably, into Jupiter's immense, crushing gravitational domain. Every major tracking station across the globe, from the sprawling, interconnected observatories nestled in the arid plains of Australia to the specialized, cryogenically cooled arrays embedded in the icy reaches of the Arctic, was locked onto 3I Atlas. Their sophisticated instruments hummed with a torrent of real-time data, meticulously charting its precise course. They anticipated the usual, the predictable deflection, an inevitable graceful bend in its path. This was the cosmic ballet they understood, a gravitational dance dictated by the immutable, elegant laws of physics. A natural object, a comet or asteroid, would either be captured, drawn into Jupiter's swirling, violent embrace, eventually disintegrating, or it would be flung outward, a cosmic pebble ricocheting wildly into the deeper, colder reaches of the solar system. This was the expectation. This was the scientific consensus, the bedrock of their understanding. But then, the impossible unfolded. What transpired next transcended mere surprise. It plunged mission control at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory into stunned silence, leaving even the sharpest congressional analysts speechless, their carefully constructed paradigms shattered. Instead of passively yielding to the gas giant's overwhelming, crushing pull, instead of being torn apart or flung away, 3I Atlas performed a deliberate, calculated course correction. It was an audacious act of defiance against the very fabric of celestial mechanics, a direct challenge to everything humanity thought it knew about natural objects in space. Telemetry streamed in, raw, unfiltered data, hurtling across millions of kilometers from the deepest, coldest reaches of space. It painted an undeniable, astonishing picture. Both JPL and the European Space Operations Center, ESOC, independently and unequivocally confirmed a sudden, precise change in velocity. This was not a random wobble of an inert rock. This was not a chaotic drift caused by outgassing. This was an active, controlled adjustment, a maneuver executed with an almost surgical intent. The change itself was deceptively minor, a mere whisper in the vastness of space. Yet, its implications were deafening, echoing through the silent control rooms. The velocity adjustment was just over 1 kilometer per second. To the layperson, this might seem insignificant, a trivial fraction of its overall speed. But in the unforgiving context of a massive, fast-moving object navigating a gravitational well as profound as Jupiter's, this seemingly small adjustment was everything. It represented an immense, focused expenditure of energy, executed with an impossible exactitude that dwarfed humanity's most advanced navigational capabilities. Its precision defied every known law of cometary physics, every established model of natural celestial mechanics. To attribute this to mere chance, to random cosmic happenstance, was simply impossible. The data screamed otherwise. Rather than allowing Jupiter's colossal, inescapable gravity to drag it inward, to tear it apart with unimaginable tidal forces, 3I Atlas applied an opposing impulse. It was a perfectly timed, perfectly executed counterforce, a burst of energy precisely calibrated down to the millisecond, designed to negate the planet's overwhelming pull. The object stabilized its trajectory with a precision that bordered on the miraculous, holding its course against a gravitational force that could swallow worlds whole, a force that had shaped our solar system for billions of years. This was not a random, chaotic interaction. It was a firm, unwavering hand on the tiller, guiding the object with an unseen, undeniable intelligence. The sheer clarity of the data, verified and re-verified by independent teams across continents, left absolutely no room for coincidence. The numbers simply did not lie. They revealed a truth that was both exhilarating and terrifying. This astonishing course correction did not occur in isolation. It coincided perfectly with another unprecedented event, a phenomenon that added yet another layer of profound mystery to the unfolding drama. A massive, sustained surge in infrared output. For 9 agonizing, drawn-out hours, a colossal, fiery pulse in the deep red spectrum radiated from 3I Atlas. It was not merely bright. It was the brightest, most intense infrared signature ever recorded from the object. An immense, incandescent beacon of energy burning fiercely in the profound darkness of space. It was the unmistakable signature of colossal power being unleashed, a controlled release of energy on an unimaginable scale. Simultaneously, Tanwen, one's advanced, hypersensitive instruments, positioned strategically to observe every subtle detail of 3I Atlas's unprecedented behavior, detected a distinct, powerful stream of magnetized plasma. This plasma ejected with incredible focused force, not randomly dissipating into the void, but precisely, perpendicularly to the comet's flight path. This was the unmistakable, textbook signature of a propulsion system in active operation, a clear, powerful exhaust plume, precisely directed, generating thrust in every single respect. The event matched the undeniable profile of a controlled maneuver, a deliberate act of engineering. It was propulsion, it was navigation, it was a conscious, calculated act of steering. What made this entire sequence even more profoundly disconcerting, what sent shivers down the spines of hardened engineers and astrophysicists, was the sheer, impossible efficiency of this action. The power required for such an adjustment, the raw, unfathomable energy needed to counteract Jupiter's colossal gravitational field, would have instantly vaporized any natural comet. The intense, destructive heat generated, the immense, tearing pressure exerted by such a maneuver, would have utterly annihilated any known celestial body, leaving only a scattered cloud of superheated dust and gas, a fleeting, ephemeral memory in the solar wind. Yet, 3I Atlas remained entirely intact. Its structure was unchanged, unblemished, seemingly impervious to the immense forces it had just generated and withstood. It was a riddle, wrapped in an enigma, a profound paradox, demonstrating a resilience and a technological mastery that defied every single scientific explanation. Then, as abruptly and precisely as it began, the pulse ended. The immense infrared signature faded, receding back into the background noise of the cosmos. The object cooled slightly, its thermal output returning to a more subdued, natural baseline. Its orbit, once subject to the unpredictable, chaotic whims of cosmic forces, now flattened into a near-perfect arc around Jupiter's powerful magnetic field. It was steady, it was measured, it was maintained. This was not a passive interaction, a mere dance of gravity and momentum. This was an active, controlled relationship, a testament to an unseen, undeniable will, a demonstration of mastery over its environment. When orbital mathematicians, their faces etched with a mixture of disbelief, awe, and a dawning, unsettling understanding, painstakingly overlaid the new trajectory on all the older predictions, the implications became terrifyingly, breathtakingly clear. 3I Atlas had not been captured. It had not been thrown off course by some random gravitational slingshot, a cosmic accident. Instead, it had plotted a new, deliberate path, a path that would carry it past Jupiter unscathed, navigating the labyrinthine, treacherous gravitational currents with an impossible, almost elegant grace, onward toward the cold, distant, unexplored reaches of the outer solar system. It had not merely survived the encounter, it had navigated through it, charting its own course with purpose and precision. In one singular, astonishing motion, 3I Atlas had proven three things beyond any shadow of a doubt. Each revelation more profound, more unsettling than the last. First, it possessed the undeniable ability to sense gravitational influence, not just as a physical force, but with an almost sentient awareness of its presence, its direction, its intensity. Second, it could actively counteract that influence, deploying precise, immense force, a technological marvel, against the most powerful gravitational fields in our solar system. And third, perhaps most unsettling of all, it could decide when to act, demonstrating a level of agency, a conscious will, a strategic intent that echoed something far beyond a simple rock or ice ball. The universe, in that astonishing moment, had just shown us a new kind of silence, a profound quietude that spoke volumes about what might truly be out there, challenging humanity's place and understanding of the cosmos itself. The Jupiter maneuver data was conclusive, undeniable, and utterly terrifying. It landed like a seismic shockwave in the congressional chamber, instantly transforming initial astonishment into a desperate, urgent need for containment. No questions were asked, but the implications were too vast, too immediate, too profoundly unsettling to articulate. There was only the chilling, collective realization: an autonomous intelligence, technologically advanced beyond human comprehension, now operated freely, silently, deliberately, with unnerving precision, in the vast, indifferent expanse of space. A high-stakes policy session immediately convened, shrouded in an atmosphere of profound, almost suffocating gravity. Senior officials from Defense, Space Force, and Homeland Security, their faces etched with a mix of fear, grim determination, and stark disbelief, led the discussion. Their directive was clear, uncompromising, and echoed with a desperate, almost frantic urgency. Limit all information, classify every single finding with extreme prejudice, and prevent public panic at any conceivable cost. The very fabric of global stability, they believed, hinged precariously on their ability to control this unprecedented, world-altering truth. The Interstellar Object Containment Protocol, once a theoretical contingency plan drafted for an event deemed impossible, a mere academic exercise, was now invoked with chilling swiftness and absolute resolve. It became terrifyingly real. Every piece of 3I Atlas telemetry, every raw byte of data, instantly became restricted national information, locked away behind layers of digital and physical security, hidden from public scrutiny, deemed too dangerous for open discourse. NASA feeds, once a transparent window to the cosmos, were now delayed, their data meticulously scrubbed, sanitized, and carefully curated before any public release, a deliberate act of obfuscation. The Deep Space Network, humanity's most sensitive ears to the cosmos, found its communications encrypted, its silent, distant vigil transformed into a secret, isolated watch, its discoveries now state secrets. All international exchanges concerning the object were subjected to rigorous, often agonizing, review. Each word weighed for its potential to reveal too much, to spark an uncontrollable wildfire of speculation. The object's demonstrated capacity for precise, deliberate course correction, its effortless, almost contemptuous defiance of Jupiter's immense gravitational pull, implied not just complex engineering, but undeniable, conscious intelligence. The very idea of public interpretation of 3I Atlas as an artificial probe, a machine from another star, perhaps even a scout, an envoy, was a nightmare scenario, guaranteed to trigger widespread global hysteria, shattering the fragile calm of nations, sparking chaos, fear, and an existential crisis that would redefine humanity. The committee, faced with this unprecedented reality, voted unanimously to suppress every detail, to bury the truth beneath impenetrable layers of classification, hoping desperately to buy time, to understand, before the world descended into irreversible fear and potential anarchy. Defense circles now viewed 3I Atlas not as a distant scientific curiosity or a fleeting astronomical phenomenon, but as a direct, immediate, and potentially existential security threat, a silent weapon hovering in the void. They grappled with its unknown transmission capabilities, its silent, unseen potential to interfere with critical satellite networks, to disrupt the very fabric of global communication, navigation, and defense systems, plunging the world into disarray. A Space Force report, drafted with chilling precision, and an undertone of deep unease cautiously suggested a strategy of passive monitoring, a watchful, distant observation, rather than any direct, provocative engagement that might be misinterpreted, or, worse, provoke an active response. Intelligence analysts, working in secure, windowless rooms, pored over every scrap of data, every anomaly, grappling with a deeply disturbing, almost philosophical question. Had the object somehow anticipated humanity's observation, its intricate maneuver, a pre-planned response to being tracked, a calculated move in a cosmic game of chess, or was it an active, real-time reaction to the probing gaze of Earth? A direct, undeniable acknowledgement of our presence, a silent greeting. The official minutes, stark and unfeeling in their bureaucratic language, simply recorded the cold, hard decision. All further investigation to proceed under closed classification, external communication prohibited. The world was to remain ignorant, protected from a truth deemed too dangerous, too destabilizing, too profound to bear. For one long, agonizing week, the veil of secrecy held, stretched taut across the globe, a fragile shield against an unsettling reality. The truth remained buried, carefully guarded, while the public remained blissfully unaware of the profound, paradigm-shifting implications for humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. But on the 8th day, the carefully constructed wall of silence began to crumble, brick by digital brick, under the relentless pressure of human curiosity and the sheer impossibility of containing such a monumental secret. Fragments of the restricted report, thermal telemetry data chillingly labeled Jove Shift 3I Atlas, began to surface, first as whispers, then as a growing roar, a digital tidal wave. They appeared on obscure, encrypted astronomy forums, shared among a global network of independent researchers, a community built on shared curiosity and an unyielding hunger for truth, for answers. Scientists across the globe, their skepticism warring with an insatiable curiosity, immediately downloaded, cross-referenced, and meticulously verified the raw data. It revealed 3I Atlas's stable, impossible trajectory, a seamless, controlled glide against Jupiter's unimaginable gravity, defying all known orbital mechanics, all conventional physics, all human expectation. More disturbingly, its signature red emissions pulsed and cycled with rhythmic precision, undeniably like an active, powerful engine, a heart beating with alien purpose in the cold void, a machine alive. Attempts to suppress the rapidly spreading leak failed spectacularly, catastrophically, a futile effort against the digital age. The digital genie was out of the bottle, spreading across the internet like wildfire, impossible to contain, impossible to retract. Files were mirrored across continents, translated into dozens of languages, scrutinized by independent physicists and astronomers worldwide, a global peer review. Their consensus was swift, unanimous, and damning. No tampering. The information was authentic, irrefutable, a stark challenge to official narratives, a direct confrontation with the truth. The truth, once hidden, now exploded into the global consciousness with the force of a supernova, impossible to ignore. News headlines screamed across every platform, from traditional media outlets to burgeoning social networks, echoing the same terrifying revelation. Alien probe detected and Congress concealed interstellar contact. Official agencies, caught completely off guard, scrambled desperately, issuing frantic denials, dismissing the data as fraudulent, as a sophisticated hoax, a product of misinformation, a conspiracy. But identical readings, surfacing from independent international archives, from observatories in Europe, Asia, and South America, invalidated their every excuse, exposed their lies, their desperate, failing attempts at damage control. Amateur astronomers, using their own modest but dedicated instruments, confirmed the infrared variations, adding their collective voices to the growing chorus of undeniable evidence. The world was waking up, and it was demanding answers, demanding the truth. Governments worldwide, reeling from the unprecedented public outcry and the shattered trust, frantically tightened information flow, desperate to regain some semblance of control over the rapidly unraveling narrative, over the escalating global panic. A transnational task force quickly formed its mission, twofold and urgent: to manage the global media frenzy, to calm the burgeoning panic, and, more critically, to assess 3I Atlas's true, strategic or existential risk. Was it a threat to humanity's survival? A precursor to invasion? A silent, watchful messenger of a distant civilization, waiting to make contact? A passive observer of our fragile existence, simply passing through? Or now, something more? Amidst this unprecedented media storm, amidst the clamor and the fear, a new, profoundly unsettling development emerged, cutting through the noise, silencing the debates. 3 radio telescopes, one nestled deep in the arid Atacama Desert of Chile, another in the vast silent plains of South Africa, and a third beneath the clear, dark skies of Australia, simultaneously detected a faint, yet unmistakable, electromagnetic noise. It was perfectly aligned with 3I Atlas's last known position, a beacon from the deep, now reaching out, no longer just observed. The signal carried that familiar, haunting 9-hour modulation, a rhythmic, deliberate pulse, echoing from the profound depths of the void. It was weak, almost imperceptible, yet deliberate. A message, a presence, a direct communication. And this time, crucially, the source wasn't moving away. It was holding position, steady, patient, and listening. The silence of space had been broken, not by humanity's hopeful whispers, but by a response, a silent challenge, a patient vigil from beyond, awaiting. The final transmission from 3I Atlas arrived just before dawn on December 18th. It was faint, fragmented, a whisper from the void, unlike anything the Deep Space Network had ever catalogued. What first seemed like distant background static slowly yielded its secrets. Analysts meticulously filtered the noise, peeling back harmonic layers, revealing a buried, impossible structure. A narrow, repeating signal emerged, rhythmic, deliberate, and undeniably artificial. It was identical to the precise pulse sequence that had haunted astronomers for months, a signature from beyond. Then, at 4:12 UTC, the waveform began its final, dramatic shift. The familiar 9-hour cycle, a cosmic heartbeat, compressed rapidly. It became a single, continuous surge, peaking sharply at 4.26 microns. This was the exact spectral band that had first revealed the object's mysterious red activation phase. Without warning, the unified signal fractured. It split into 3 distinct pulses, each carrying its own intricate fractal modulation. This was a recursive code, structured like self-reference, a language of pure mathematics. For a mere 14 seconds, this complex, alien signal stabilized, broadcasting its final message. During that incredibly brief window, a faint optical flash was detected. It shimmered near Earth's terminator line, a final, silent farewell. The object, still impossibly far beyond Jupiter's orbit, brightened sharply, then extinguished. There was no afterglow, no lingering dust trail. Absolutely nothing. All tracking systems registered immediate, absolute loss of contact. The precise celestial coordinates once marked by 3I Atlas fell silent, swallowed by the vast emptiness. Telescopes, scanning desperately, found nothing but empty space. In the control centers, the usual cheers of discovery were absent. There was only a profound, chilling realization. The object had chosen to disappear. It had simply vanished. Within hours, the National Security Council moved with swift, decisive action. A shutdown directive was issued. All monitoring protocols were immediately suspended. The Congressional Task Force, assembled to understand this anomaly, was quietly dissolved under classified order. The official reason given to the public was a vague instrument redundancy review. But the truth, whispered in hushed tones behind closed doors, was simpler, far more unsettling. No one wanted to see what might come next. The final unredacted summary, buried deep within secure files, contained a single chilling sentence. It simply stated, "Objects ceased emission and departed observable field under unknown propulsion." In the weeks that followed, a strange quiet descended. Public observatories, citing sudden lack of funding, ceased their inquiries. The media, ever hungry for the next sensation, quickly lost interest. The story faded from headlines, but deep within restricted archives, a dedicated few, driven by an unyielding curiosity, continued their work. They reanalyzed the last signal, poring over every fragment. When finally visualized as a spectrogram, it formed a pattern, eerily familiar, almost haunting. Concentric arcs spiraled inward toward a central void, a perfect match. It was identical to the unique magnetic envelope once seen around the object itself. Was it a final transmission? A cryptic warning? Or perhaps a closing statement to a cosmic encounter? No one could definitively tell. Yet, those who studied it, those who wrestled with its silent implications, agreed on one unsettling interpretation. The final signal from 3I Atlas wasn't a goodbye. It was a reset, a profound, silent re-engagement with the unknown, and the universe for a long moment held its breath, awaiting what might come next.